Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the WPS podcast. That is Why People Suck. I'm Celia, and I'm joined by my co host, best friend, and sister, Alejandra.
Hi, everyone. Glad to be back for another episode where we call out all the ways people are super annoying and talk about what we can actually do about it. We say it so you don't have to. Today, we're talking about people who victimize themselves. And I think that we all know people like this. And we're not going to name names here, but I think you and I have several people in our circle, we'll call it circle, in our circle, who are especially good at playing the victim. Don't you agree? Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do know. I do know. And this is a great topic because I think a lot of people probably encounter this sort of people in their lives. And it's not, we all have bad days and things like that, but we're talking about people who just systematically can never take accountability and always have to be the victim in every situation. Even if you're the one coming with a problem, they have to turn it in some way that actually you're the one attacking them or something.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And disclosure, by the way, this episode is not about actual victims. So if somebody's genuinely wronged you, this is not about you. We're talking about people who turn paper cuts, for example, into like a documentary, like every day, all the time. And the other thing is too, like, we all have bad days that we're like you just said, like, we all have bad days where we just want to feel sorry for ourselves. And I actually think that's healthy. But if you're the type of person that's just like every single day is a bad day and you just have to have a sob party every single day and everything is like, oh, I'm the worst person ever, that's being a victim, a constant victim. That's the kind of people we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
So, do you have any like hypotheses as to why people victimize themselves? Because I have my thoughts on it, but I want to see like what do you think? Like why does it happen so often?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I think it has to do with just feeling like you can never take accountability for anything wrong that you've done. Like you feel ashamed or guilt and you just don't want to give in to that or let other people see that you're quote unquote weak. So I think that might have
Yeah.
something to do with it. I know at times it can also be like your past experiences as well, which I'm not minimizing or anything, but at some point you would hope that someone would grow from terrible experiences and having a difficult life and not always living in that pity party, but wanting to get ahead and have a happy life and grow and not always make other people around them feel like they're walking on eggshells.
Mhm. Yeah. I think also like what you just said and also people just are not none of us are good at being criticized, so I think it's kinda like a defense mechanism for some people when they're receiving criticism, and I also kinda think it's, like, paired with, like, a low self-esteem, so, like, when somebody says anything that might not be positive about you, you're immediately, like or this people that are like this, they just, like, immediately are like, "Oh, you're attacking me, and I already have a low self-esteem, so this is, like, how I defend myself from that." And I think also, like, some people just want,
Yeah.
like, attention. I think that's the thing that's the quality that annoys me the most. When you can tell that they're playing the victim because they want attention, I think that has to be, like, the most annoying. I feel bad, like, if you have low self-esteem and that's your defense mechanism, I feel bad. But if you're just seeking attention, that's the one that really irritates me.
Yeah, I totally agree. That and then people who are just narcissistic because I think people
Yeah. Yeah.
who are narcissists do that for sure.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's a really good point. So one point that I was thinking about is like, do you think that people that are playing the victim always know they're doing it?
I think that maybe some people, they just have this pattern of behavior that at some point they just don't notice it, and that's how they get away with everything in life, so that they've
Mhm.
learned that, "Okay, if I play the victim, then no one can blame me for my mistakes, and I get leniency if I make mistakes." Like, at work or with my family or with friends when I'm having a bad day or something. That's a way that I can get away with it. So I think these people have this learned behavior, and at
Mhm.
some point they don't notice it anymore. Because I do wonder, like, on that point of how narcissists tend to do this, I think they just maybe they do know and they're playing the game, but at some point it's just they know, okay, this is how I can get away with being a bad person. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm gonna do from now on, and they just, like, stop realizing it.
Yeah, like, it starts off with, like, they realize that acting helpless or acting like the victim gets them the attention that they want, and, like, I think it starts off as, like, a shield, and then they realize that the shield actually gets them the attention they want, and then they're just so far gone that they don't even realize they're doing it anymore. So, yeah, I think you're right that it is just like a pattern, and eventually you do it so much that you just don't even realize you're doing it. Yeah, I've always kind of found people who play the victim to be like, I have a certain sadness for people like that because I'm always like, "Why do you do that? Like, what has happened in your life that has made you do that?" Like, I know I have coworkers that sometimes, like, if like, I'm a manager, so I, like, sometimes have to call people out on their mistakes, and I do have some people, like, one person in particular I'm thinking of that will be like, "Oh, well, I just can never do anything wrong," and it makes me feel really bad for this person because I know that they do try hard, but it's just like, I don't know, they're not really getting the like, how to do the job, so it's like but they're very nice, but also at some point it's like, "Come on, you gotta get it, right?" And I think that they feel that pressure, and then they just kind of turn it around and they're like, "Well, I could just never do anything right," and it's like, I feel so bad.
Yeah, that would make me feel bad too, because clearly maybe this person was criticized as a kid or something or bullied. You really never know what can cause that. And I think when it comes from a place like that, I am more weary of calling it out or like, being like, okay, these people suck. But I feel bad for those people is really
Yeah.
the people that, like we're saying, that we are criticizing here are the ones that kinda do it knowingly, and they do it for attention, and they do it to get away with stuff and flip the
Mhm.
script on people and gaslight people. Now that's really the people that I have a problem with.
Yeah.
I think in the case of your coworker, yeah, I feel quite bad because clearly that needs to be talked about in therapy or something, because there's something
Mhm.
deeper there.
Yeah, I think so, and I've kind of gathered that, so I do try to be a little bit easier on this person, but at the same time, it's like, well, is that fair to everyone else? Because like, would I be this lenient towards someone else who, maybe I didn't have background on them? Probably not, so it is kind of a tough situation, but yeah, I keep coming back to this other example of, like, us calling out people in our circle that we were referencing and then just be them just turning around and being like, "Well, I guess I was just the worst then, wasn't I? And you turned out fine, but it's okay that I did this to you even though you turned out fine." And it's like, "Yeah, but still didn't love it."
Yeah, it's like they don't let you talk about your own emotions and how a situation affected you without it having to be all about them. Which is the annoying thing
Yes.
because then you don't wanna bring things up with people, and that's the point, like, you're supposed to feel safe around your friends and family to bring things up when it upsets you without thinking, "Oh, okay, if I say something, then they're gonna get upset and flip the script on me," and then I really do hate that. I've had times when I bring something up and then somehow at the end of it all, I end up apologizing, and it's like, "Wait a minute, I was coming here to tell you that you did something that hurt my feelings, and now I'm the one apologizing to you because you flipped the script and now you're the victim? No, no,
Mhm.
no."
Yes, and then the thing is that you don't even realize it until afterwards, and you're like, "Wait a minute. Hold on. How did I end up apologizing at the end of that? That did not go the way that I wanted it to go." Yeah. Oh, and then sometimes you're just saying something, like, you're just making a comment, you're not, like, being accusatory. You're just like, "Well, this happened, and this is how it made me feel." And then it's like, "Well, I'm the victim because I didn't like, am doing my best." And it's like, "Well, I wasn't saying you weren't. I'm just saying that was my experience."
Yeah. Or you might even crack a joke or something, and then they take it really personally like that. Like, I don't know, for example, if I said something about my own experience where, oh gosh, I can't even think of an example where I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I had such a tough time going through that moment in high school," or whatever, and then some person that was in high school with me was like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I was so terrible, wasn't I? That's all my fault, I guess." And it's like, "Wait, I didn't even say it was you. I didn't even say the occasion, like a specific moment. How why are you now taking over my joke and making it seem like I am terrorizing you? What happened?"
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? It might be guilt, because that's another thing, like, when you bring stuff up like that and people get all defensive and try to play the victim, it's because they feel guilty about it. They know what they did, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too, actually. They know, so they have to get all defensive.
Yeah.
Man, but, the people who gaslight you, those are just the worst. I'm thinking about, this one time that I went on a few dates with this guy who I now, in hindsight, think is a narcissist. We went out, then I didn't hear from him for a while, and then he just messaged me, he texted me or something, and I was like, "Okay, I'm not having this, like, basically you ghosted me. I'm I
Yeah.
don't wanna talk to you again." And then he was like, "Oh, all these things happen, and now you're yelling at me and making me feel bad." And I was like, "Hold on a minute, you made me feel bad by ghosting me, and then now you're making me sound like the villain who doesn't wanna give you another chance? No, you're insane, you're a narcissist."
Yeah. You're so right. This kinda sounds like the people that are like, "No one likes me, no one wants to hang out with me, nobody ever includes me in anything," yet they don't text or reach out or call you or ask you to hang out either. They're just, like, waiting for the invitation, or you invite them constantly and they continue to say no or decline, and then they're like, "But nobody likes me," and it's like, "Well, you're choosing not to go." And then also, after a certain point, people are going to stop inviting you if you don't show up to things. That's just how it works. And that's your fault, not the people trying
Yeah.
to include you, because they did try, and then you just push them away, so it just kinda seems like you don't wanna hang out, so you gotta think of it that way. Turn it around and think about how the people that you're rejecting feel about it, because that's what it is, it's rejection
Mhm.
or ghosting, I guess. Friend
Yeah,
ghosting.
exactly. It's like you did it first,
Mhm.
so
Yeah, definitely.
it's like, they don't see their part in, a situation where maybe both of you or however many people are involved have something to be blamed for,
Mm,
but they just can't handle having even a little negative part in something.
mhm. Yeah, exactly. There's also the type of people that are, like, martyrs all the time, like, if you complain about one little thing, because like, I don't know, let's say you have a headache, and then they're like, "Oh my gosh, I have migraines all the time, that's nothing." And you're just like, "Okay, but I have a headache, and it hurts." Or the one that I've talked before is, like, people with kids, when, like, someone tells them they're tired, and they're like, "Oh, you have no idea what it's like to be tired because you don't have kids." It's like, "Yes, you do. Just because you don't have kids doesn't mean that you don't know what it's like to be tired."
Yeah, that's just plain rude.
Yeah.
And I think, it's really annoying the people who complain over and over again about a certain situation or problem that they're dealing with. I mean, I think it's a safe space, like, with friends, yeah, you have those friends or family or, like, you and me will talk about the same thing over and over again, but it's not like, you know that you just wanna vent,
Yeah.
you know? But then there are people who just complain over and over again, and they don't seem to wanna change the situation. It's different when you're venting and you're actually, like, spitballing solutions, or you're like, "Okay, I just wanna get this off my chest," but, like, it's fine. But there's the people who just, like, complain over and over again, and they just don't do anything about it, and they ask you specifically for advice, and they're like, "No, that's not gonna work," or just, like, they don't take the advice
Yeah.
ever, so you just don't know what to do. I mean, as we had talked before on a different episode where people come to you with problems, like, you don't always have to solve the
Mhm.
problem, you just need to listen, and that's a good thing to say, like, "Okay, what do you want me to do? Do you want solutions, or do you just wanna
Mhm.
vent?" But what I find annoying is just, like, over and over and over and over again, and they just, like, can't stop beating the dead dog on a situation, you know?
I
And it's, like, always being like, "Me, poor me, poor me, poor me."
Yeah, and, like, a year later, they're still complaining about the same thing, and you're like, "Wait, you're still complaining about this? Thought this was done. Come on." Yeah, I read a quote, I think it was Angelina Jolie or somebody, some famous actress said, "If you are telling more than 3 people the exact same thing, you don't wanna solve the problem, you just wanna complain about it." And I feel like it's the same, like, if you're still complaining
Yeah.
about the same, like, if you're complaining about it, like, 3 months later, then maybe you don't actually wanna solve the problem, you just wanna complain about it and you enjoy the attention. But you know what? This reminded me of, like,
Yeah.
when a friend dates, like, a walking red flag, and you're just like, "Dude, you have dated a guy like this before. The guy has no job, no prospect, no, like, future. You guys don't even really agree on a lot of stuff. What are you doing?" Not saying that not having a job is, like, any like, some people, you don't always have a job. That's fine. But, like, it's the clearly, like, the moocher or whatever, like, clearly red flags, and you're just like, "This guy is not good for you." And then they still go on and date
Yeah.
them, and then eventually it's like a horrible breakup, and you're like, "Well, I told you. Also, you date the same person over and over again, or the same quality person." Like, at some point, you also have to be able to recognize the red flags. Stay away.
Yeah. No, exactly. It's just, and it gets it really exhausting to be the person who witnesses that.
Yes, I've been there. The other one that I kind of find a little bit funny, only because I have not experienced it myself, but, like, I've been kind of like a third party, just, like, knew both sides, and basically one of my friends was ghosted by another one of her friends for no reason, and the other friend would post all these cryptic messages on Instagram and Facebook or whatever, just being like, "The people who really love you really stand by you," or when a big life event, they people really show their true colors, or like some cryptic message that's like clearly about the friend, but it's like, okay, but you were the one that was mean and rude and like completely cut her off, and she kept trying to reach out and you kept being dismissive, but you're the one posting those things? That's super weird. And also, like, do you feel guilty? Because I feel like you do, but you're trying not to feel guilty.
That is really weird.
Yeah. But it was kind of funny
Because
for
at
me.
that point, you just need to bring something up, and just, you know, she must have been upset about something that was not communicated, and it's like, okay, if you're not gonna say something, how is the person gonna know?
Yeah, it was one of those weird things where she was a bridesmaid in my friend's wedding, and she was a terrible bridesmaid, and then after the wedding, she basically just, like, cut her off, and my friend was just like, "Did I do something to you? Like, what was the deal?" Like, she wasn't the maid of honor, so she didn't even have to plan
Mhm.
anything, she just had to show up to things, and she didn't even show up to anything. She barely showed up to the bachelorette party for, like, 1 night after work for, like, 3 hours. And then she showed up to the wedding. That
Hmm.
was it. And then after the wedding, she just, like, cut her off and was like it was so weird. And that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, as an outsider, I was just like, "This is so funny," but also like, I feel bad for my friend, obviously, because she lost a friend, but to me, I was just like, "This is so odd." Like, what even happened? You just got mad because she got married? I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? That's really
Yeah.
weird. Just, I don't understand people who have to play the victim all the time and just, like, collecting grievances, and just they just don't wanna be happy, it seems like it's like this learned helplessness where they act like they can't control anything in their lives, and they just take no accountability to try to fix anything,
Mhm.
and it's like they want to be miserable, it seems like sometimes.
Yeah, and it's like, I get it, like, we all struggle, and some people do struggle more than others, and that's unfortunately, that's just how it is, and I that's not great, it's not fair, but at some point, when does struggling become self-victimization? Like, not every single thing has to be you're the victim, and honestly, like, that doesn't help anything. Having a negative mindset about your struggles really doesn't help you. I have definitely found like the power of the mind is so big. Like you can really turn certain situations around just by being like, you know what? I'm not going to let it bring me down. I'm not going to let this be like a big downer in my life. And like, yeah. So I just think like, obviously some situations are not like that, but having a positive mindset really does help sometimes.
Yeah, being optimistic. I read this book called Learned Optimism.
Mhm. Yeah, you've mentioned that book a
Yeah,
couple times.
I think I have mentioned it, and how important it is to stay optimistic in the face of struggles. I know it's really, really hard to do,
Yeah.
but I think reading that book was helpful because I saw real case scenarios and data and statistics
Mhm.
that they ran tests on people on how they thought of themselves when something bad happens, like, rather than thinking and blaming it on you, like, for example, you lose your job, right? So instead of saying, "Oh, I must be so stupid. I probably don't deserve to have a job. I don't deserve any of this," then you're instead of thinking that way, like blaming yourself for the situation, you're like, "Okay, that's the situation. It has nothing to do with me." Like right now, the economy is super hard. A lot of people are trying to find new jobs, and it's just, like, impossible, it seems like. I have so many friends in this situation, so many people I know, and it's not them, like, they're very smart, capable people, it's the
Yeah.
economy, and as long as you're telling yourself that, then you're not gonna fall into this depression, but if you're, like, with every rejection that you get, you're like, "Oh, I must be stupid, I'm not good enough." Then you get into this pattern where it's self-pity all the time and you just fall into a depression, so I can see exactly how optimism can really
Mhm.
help your mindset in your life get better.
Yeah, I also think, like, the theory of, like, zooming out, because a lot of the time when you're in your struggles, you're just, like, so zoomed in on the struggle. Remind yourself to zoom out. And like you said, like, for example, the job thing, it's not about you necessarily, like, you lost your job because of whatever reason, like, doesn't matter. But you're not getting another job. It's not necessarily about you at all. It's because the economy is terrible. And like you said, like you have really smart friends that are very capable of could do a job, really good job. But like zoom out and like I don't know how you've got like 1,000 applicants per each job. So the odds are 1 in 1,000 that you're gonna get the job. So it's not necessarily about you not being good enough. It's just like those are the odds. And the odds are not in your favor right now.
Yeah, and also in this day and age, I don't know any of our listeners if you're really plugged into the AI world, but how annoying is it that all your resumes go through some AI bot and probably a person doesn't even see it? We gotta talk about
Oh,
that. That's a whole other thing that
yeah.
is really screwing up a lot of
Yeah,
things. I'm not against
no.
technology and all this stuff, but we gotta see that there are some negative consequences here, and we're not really handling everything so
Yeah,
well.
yeah, it's so true.
But that's a different topic. Just had to mention it though in the job
It
thing,
is.
because maybe a lot of people can relate to this struggle
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now.
so just if you are going through that, just know that it's not about you. It is about a lot of other factors. It's not you specifically, so zoom out a little bit and, kinda try to change your mindset. I know it can be hard sometimes, but positivity really does help.
Yeah. Not toxic
No.
positivity though, as per our last
Yeah.
episode. Um, but yeah, I think then on the flip side, when you're dealing with a friend who's always a victim, like, what do you do about that? I think that's a difficult position to be in other than you saying, "Okay, well, if what would you want your life to be then
Y
instead? You know, you can complain about things, but what are you really looking to achieve? Like, what would make your life better? And I think having those conversations might help the person realize, like, okay, maybe I need to focus on how to get out of this issue and not just complain about stuff. So, you being that friend who can guide them that way, that's also maybe a helpful thing to do, and it'll ease it off of you always having to deal with someone who is playing the victim.
yeah,
And also, like, when people try to gaslight you, which I've dealt with so much, and like I was saying, like, sometimes I end up apologizing, I'm like, "Wait a minute."
yeah,
It's like, stand your ground and be like, I don't remember it that way, but you can tell me your perspective, and then I'll tell you
yeah,
mine." And then so you don't lose yourself to that and then start joining them in this pity party, you know?
yeah. Have you ever tried just straight up calling out someone and just being like, "You're playing the victim"? That might not go over well, but sometimes
I
just like
haven't, but that I think some people like narcissists probably will get very upset at you, and actually, I'm thinking maybe I kinda did with that guy that was texting me. And then he got so mad he ghosted me again,
okay, so
but then appeared months later. So,
what a weirdo.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, the other thing I was gonna say is, like, maybe just try to get the person to be like, "Okay, what are your goals? Like, what do you want?" Like you said, like, "What do you want your life to be?" And then have them actually tell you, and then be like, "Okay, let's work backwards. How can we get there?" Help them make, like, a roadmap to get there. And that could be helpful for anybody, like, even me, like, or me and you, like, if there's an issue, just kinda try to be like, "Hey, you know what? This is the issue, but this is where I wanna be. How do I get there?" Just a thought.
Yeah. And I guess I wanted to ask you, like, how what do you think is a good way to distinguish between someone just, like, trying to vent? Because I also think, like you said, it's healthy to vent, and sometimes you're just gonna have a bad day and you have to be a victim for a little
Yeah.
bit, versus someone who's, like, always the victim. I think what are, like, the signs to look out for?
I think that if they're bringing up the same thing over and over again, then they're playing the victim. Also, if they never have anything positive, like, you kind of have to pay attention, right? Because some people just kind of blend in to other conversations and you don't really realize it, but if you really start to notice, like, there are some people who literally don't bring anything positive to a conversation. They are just negative. And so that's the person that you wanna kinda watch out for. And if
Mhm.
every single person in your life is toxic, disrespectful, jealous, dramatic, fake, manipulative, terrible, whatever, you might need to investigate the narrator. Like, you you might be the toxic person here. The victim is what I
Yeah,
think.
like, why are you attracting these kinds of people to your life?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I guess and then one other thing from that list too that you're saying is, like, just people who gaslight you.
Yep.
That's the worst. Big sign.
Yeah. Yep, definitely gaslighters. Sometimes it's not so easy to recognize a gaslighter, but you gotta keep your eyes open for those.
Mhm. Yeah. Any final thoughts to share with our listeners?
I don't think so. Hopefully, we gave some good advice for anybody that's having to deal with people who, play the victim a lot.
Yeah. And now I guess we wanna hear from our listeners. Have you ever had to deal with someone like that, and what did you do about it? Do you have any advice to share with everyone else? Or if you've been the victim or you make yourself the victim, how did you realize you were doing it? Did you even realize it or not? Did they call you out? What happened?
Or did you just realize it right now? Did we help you come to this conclusion? We would love to know.
Yeah. And will you follow our advice to help yourself out of that?
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the WPS podcast. We said it so you didn't have to. Remember to follow us at the WPS Podcast. We're on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, so you can DM us your stories and like, share, comment on our posts, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.